Hi, my name is Patsy Treese, and I am a parent in the district. I have 2 kids that have the great honor of being invited to play at Carnegie Hall in April because they've been part of the elementary instrumental music program since my daughter was in 4th grade and my son was in 5th grade. I think that I know this is a really hard decision, and I realize the science behind the later start time, but there's also science behind the contributions of music to a student's development. It not only helps to solidify math concepts, which is why I started my daughter with piano lessons quite early, because math was something she just wasn't getting, and she's still not an A student, but she actually gets the concepts now. The patterns in music help people to learn about grammar, and it helps with language, and it helps with brain development. In addition, I think that the students that participate in music programs also learn some skills that aren't as easily measured. For instance, cooperation and leadership. If you're in a chamber music group, it's an important skill to be able to start at the same time, or Mr. Christensen or Mr. Rice will yell at you. The other thing that I think is really wonderful about our instrumental music programs is that it reaches every student. All those students that perform, either they're in special ed, all the way up to the kids who are in IB. They're on a level playing field when it comes to music throughout the district. Instrumental music needs to be accessible, and it needs to be sequential. It's essential that those kids have the opportunity to participate in music at the elementary level, because by the time they reach junior high, if you're not introducing the concept of doing something a little bit that is a little risk-taking and maybe you're going to make mistakes, they're a lot less likely to want to do that. And so it's really important that as you make this decision, you balance the importance of getting sleep along with the benefits of having the instrumental music program. Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Patsy. Heather
Boyce.
Boyce, thank you.
Thank you. Many of the comments that I was going to make, I don't want to reiterate, they've already been said. But both of my children graduated from Bothell High School. Until recently, we've lived within the district. This is my 15th year as a bus driver in the school district. My grandchildren have attended here. I love the children in North Shore School District, and I love the district itself. I'm going to speak as a bus driver. When I first started, this is a part-time job. However, most of us have families, and we have to try and support those families. And so we all work very hard to try and create a full-time job out of a part-time job. It doesn't always work well, because 4.5 hours to 5 hours a day is not a full-time job to support a family on. We have many single parents raising children today, and they choose to work for the school district because then their days off, the children's days off, and the summer off, they're with their children. Just the 10-minute time that you rolled the bell times this past year had unbelievably affected our driving. I know this lady does not understand that, but when we are in 10 minutes, traffic 10 minutes later for each of our schools, I think they've had to add 4 bus routes, which is 4 more bus drivers and 4 more buses. We're having difficulty retaining the drivers that we have. And if you have to add 50 more buses and cut the time of the bus drivers, the hours of the bus drivers, we are not going to fulfill all the jobs. You're not going to have bus drivers to deliver these children. We are going to be in massive traffic at the 7:30 to 8 o'clock hour, the 8 to 8:30 hour, the 8:30 to 9 o'clock hour. So our buses are going to be taking fewer children, shorter distances, because we just physically cannot make it. Can I turn the rest of my time over to Linda to finish her little work? I just wanted to give you a different perspective than most people. If you're not driving in that traffic with a school bus and children on it, you just don't understand. So I wanted to just mention that.
Linda, did you have a sentence at the end of yours that you wanted to read?
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
I guess the most important thing that I wanted to say was jobs, internships for high school students was another aspect of things that we need to consider. Band was a really big, it was on my list also. And I think the community as a whole needs time to digest what a huge changes it make to our lives. I know the PTA is very involved in, but as a community as a whole, it's a very small group of people because I was a PTA person and we felt like we were doing everything. And I would like this to be a decision that would just be out in public for just a little bit longer so that everyone can think of the ramifications for their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Wickline, is that right? Sharon Wickline? Am I close?
Hi, my name is Shanna Wickline. I'm a parent. I'm also a bus driver. My younger son is at Fernwood right now, and my older son is at Skyview. But I'm just here to, I guess, reemphasize what's already been said by many of the bus drivers who've come up here before. We actually moved twice to be able to move into the Bothell School District. We moved from Everett to Edmonds and then finally to here before we could purchase a house because this school district meant a lot to us. And this change is going to be huge for families, and I don't think they're going to, by a later start, I don't even think we're going to begin to understand that impact until it actually hits. So I'm just urging more time. I would like to see more of this discussion in public. I know from talking to different people, they were like, oh, well, we're really talking about that option or that option or that option. And you have to go to the website and kind of navigate things, even to find the plans. And if you haven't been to the meetings, I don't know how to get the word out there, but I feel like there's a lot of families that don't understand what we're moving to and how this might impact them. So I guess I'm just urging more time. I would second the sports. My son was on the Skyview basketball team. They tied for their championship this year. They wouldn't be able to do that. You know, practices after school, games are after school. This impacts major things. And as far as sleep deprivation goes, I'm with some of these parents who've said, you know, we need to get our kids to bed. So again, I just ask you to really take time to consider this decision and it's going to impact me, and I may not be able to stay at my job. We have we're a 2-job family, and we need both of those jobs. And right now, I have 8 hours a day driving a school bus, and this change would definitely impact me, and maybe I might have to go look for a job in another place. And I don't want to do that because I love this school district, and we moved here to be here. And so I hope you'll consider that.
Thank you. I'm sorry I destroyed both halves of your name.
Oh, that's okay.
Wendy Reynolds.
My name is Wendy Reynolds, and I've been working with PALS for several years now. And I also have 2 kids in the district. I wanted to thank the board again for putting out the survey on my later start times and encourage you to get this changed for the 2015 school year. I understand that many of the big obstacles go away in 2017, and it is very nice to finally see a light at the end of this tunnel. But 2017 is too late for thousands of kids. On Thursdays, I start work at 7:30, and I now have to drive past Inglemore as kids are walking to school. It is a miracle that nobody has been killed walking to that school. It is very dark, it is very congested, there are no sidewalks on one side of the street. The kids are dressed in dark clothes, texting or talking with each other and not paying attention. Every Thursday when I move past the high school, I breathe a huge sigh of relief that I haven't hit someone. It's not safe. I also just want to address the issue of athletes having to leave class early, which has been mentioned on many occasions. Believe it or not, I was once a student athlete. It is true that on a few occasions we would have to leave class a few minutes early, maybe 15 to 20 minutes when we were competing at the schools far from us. But I also missed a full day for region competition and for the state championship tournament. Athletes do have to miss some class, but it's a lot better for athletes and all other students to be awake and alert in class than to occasionally miss a few minutes or even a full day. One of the reasons this is so important to me is I have a son sitting over there that gets migraines. His school now starts at 8:50, and he's missed 20 days of school this year. One of the big factors is lack of sleep. I get him to bed. I get him to bed every night at a reasonable time, and he doesn't even have to wake up till 7:30 right now to get to school, and he still missed 20 days. I believe that you can and should get this done for 2015, as do 80% of the parents and staff that took the survey. Let's follow through on the results of this survey, and let's make this happen in 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Wendy Meyer.
Good evening. Thank you again for all of your time and your service, and especially regarding this issue of the later start time. It's been an issue for a very long time in many different areas across the country, and it's been put into place to much success. I am so incredibly excited to be here tonight when this particular action item is on the agenda. I have a 12th grader, a 10th grader, and an 8th grader. I have 2 daughters at Woodinville High School and a daughter at Timbercrest. We've been in the district for 12 years. We have done the early elementary. We've been in choir, we've been band, not orchestra. We are still in choir. I have 2 in choir at Woodinville High School, and they're having a wonderful time there. I do know and believe that music is a very important thing. I do know that I think that this board is very supportive of the music program here. And I think that even with the new configurations, we're going to be able to make something work. Maybe my oldest daughter, who is a senior and is a singer-songwriter, she said, well, gosh, you know, we do a piano lab, we have guitar for kids at the high school level who have never played before. Maybe the 6th period, when we go to the new configurations, maybe we have a beginning orchestra class, maybe we have beginning band class. I do think that we need to keep music going. However, I do most and foremost support a later start time. You guys have had the information in front of you for years. You get on the National Sleep Foundation, there's 40 pages to read. It's all right there. Our kids are better rested, they're healthier, they have better relationships with their parents, their peers, their teachers. There's so much more that these kids have to do and think about these days. Graduation requirements, AP requirements, everything. What are they going to do? And it's very different than it was 10 years ago. It was very different than 30 years ago when I graduated high school. It's extremely different. And I think that having that sleep, I mean, it's proven that their time shifts about 3 hours. And I just think I'm in full support of the later start time and as early as possible. What else did I want to say? For me, what I did with my older 2 daughters was, and one of them has a health issue, but I pulled them out of first period. This was before Woodinville High School started this 7th period, but there's only certain classes that are offered for 7th period there at the moment. So I pulled them out of first period, and I bought them a car, and I sent them to math class. I sent them to math class online. And this year, they go in an hour later, and it has proven to be a much healthier situation for them with much better grades all the way around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy. Jeff Almeida?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jeff Almeida. I'm a parent of my only child, my daughter Emily there, who is an 8th grader at Kenmore Junior High. I'm a homeowner in Kenmore, a taxpayer, and I'd like to point out that I am also very much in favor of implementing the later start time as soon as possible. While I realize that from a purely logistical perspective, it may not be possible to make that happen for this coming fall, With all of the other transitions and upheaval in these teenagers' lives, putting it off until 2017 for the sake of fiscal convenience may actually prove more problematic in terms of the number of things that people will have to adjust to, in terms of friends changing schools and additional grade levels being reconfigured at the same time and new boundaries. I think you'd wind up with a lot of wheels in motion that may actually convolute the matter more than making a compact investment to try and make that happen in the fall of 2016 at the latest. And coming back to this point though, I've been in the software industry in senior positions for nearly 20 years now. And to the extent that we are in the 21st century and we're talking about the rise of the creative class and creative individuals. Again, I'm a developer, my daughter's an aspiring writer. The one thing that I will go back to, having been a teenager myself once, a few decades ago, is the notion that a lot of this inspiration comes late at night. That part of the reason teenage sleep cycles are shifted late in the day, and again, as an example, a dozen or so years ago when I lived in Texas and was commuting to work, coming in at about 9:30, I was driving by high schools that were just opening there then, so they were starting even an hour later than we're proposing. But that a lot of that inspiration happens late at night and keeps the kids up while they're churning out these creative works that become, important portfolio items as they're applying for college, or, important out-of-classroom learning that they're doing very much in a hands-on fashion that goes on to fuel their later careers. So, once again, I'd like to reiterate that for the sake of those students who are trying to advance themselves outside of the classroom in particular, evenings are important. And, well, okay, it's 10 after 8. I know that some people with sort of a more rural mindset would suggest that, I don't know, a 13-and-a-half-year-old might ought to be in bed now if she was going to school the morning that early. But I tend to disagree. I have seen how productive she can be in later hours, and I want to continue to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Nina Juval? Oh, that's not yours.
Hi, so my name is Nina, and I graduated Inglemoor High School last year. And I just wanted to share my perspective of having experience waking up at 6:30 every morning for school. And first of all, it was very dark in the morning, and it was just really hard for me to even get out of bed. And so for me and many others I have talked to, it was very difficult waking up so early, and one reason is because being a teenager, it's really hard to get to bed early enough to have the right amount of sleep. And I know there's lots of things that I could do to cause myself to go to sleep at a better time, but it is much easier said than done. Also, when I would get home after school, I would usually actually go right to sleep. And so I actually took naps every day. And it kind of just really changed around my sleeping schedule, and it affected me in a weird way. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost kind of like a jet lag kind of feel. And yeah, I just really found myself exhausted after every week of school, and I just thought that 1 hour of sleep added to sleeping would have been very, very helpful for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Nina. So that does conclude the citizens' comments portion. And I just want to say that this section of our meeting can sometimes feel a little awkward because it's not designed to be a dialogue. You're addressing us during our business meeting. But I want to thank you all for your comments. I want to thank you for being so respectful of one another and with differing opinions. And I just want to say that board members have heard what you are saying, and we appreciate your input. So thank you for coming tonight. We will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. And that passes unanimously. You'll notice that we've moved the information items before action items for this evening so that we can look at the transportation options before we talk about the resolution. So we will start with the first information item, which is easements for the North Creek High School. Do board members have any questions on this? Pretty straightforward. Thank you for the information. I don't see any questions, so we'll move to the next one, which is the district budget status report for November 2014. Any questions for Lydia on this? Again, something we see pretty regularly, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is review of the transportation options to achieve a later high school start time. And I've asked Ryan to, because the print is teeny tiny, and because we got it a little, it was awesome. You guys, there's no criticism in this statement because you worked really hard to get it to us when you got it to us. I just think it would be beneficial for us to see a little bit on each option for tonight. Thank you.